Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by the future Jays, Joe Dellera, Joseph Dellera, HOPENY Dellera of the Cash That podcast, rocking a Nikola Jokic shirt here on the podcast. If you check it out, youtube.com/the Action Network. Make sure to check out the Cash That podcast. Great stuff over there from Joe every single week. Jim Turvey from Roto Grinders putting out projections for you Monday through Friday. Also the host of the WNBA Buckets podcast as well. They are the future Jays. Tonight we're
I thought for sure you were gonna, after going Joseph on Joe, bring up the fact that me being James broke your brain this week.
Jumping James Turvey. That's gonna be the new name. Jumping James Turvey. Jumping Intrigued James
Intrigued. Yeah, the House of Intrigue.
Jim Turvey's House of Intrigue. Speaking of which, we have Jim with a very interesting House of Intrigue this week, as we are going to talk about the Southwest Division tonight. Kind of programming note, we're going to have two shows this week. We're going to have a show on Wednesday and a show on Friday with some of the guys, talk about some general and NBA future stuff. We'll talk about Media Day, some reaction to that, whatever the news is. We'll kind of get into that. Probably talk some Warriors, assuming that something happens with Jonathan Kuminga at some point. Then the following week, Brandon Anderson Palooza, just like all of Brandon's future stuff that people ask about and want to hear. We're going to hit those. The week after, we will have 5 shows for you covering all sorts of stuff. We're going to do an MVP show. I'm probably going to do a price finder. We're going to do a win totals draft with the fellas. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. We'll have Bet-a-Paloozas for Brandon, where he's going to give you a bet for every single team in the NBA because he's a lunatic. We're going to do that. And then the week after, guess what? Then it's Monday, and we're doing best bets for the opening night of the NBA season. That's like, we're there. Like, we are taking off. Media Day is tomorrow. As we're recording this on Sunday night, I'm heading to Denver to do that. And then I'm actually popping on a plane and going to San Diego for Nuggets training camp for a few days. I've never been to San Diego, so I'm very excited.
Love it
to be there. I have a San Diego Clippers shirt that I'm going to wear. That will endear me to no one because no one remembers that they were there. But that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about the Southwest Division because Media Day for the Memphis Grizzlies comes out, and there's a lot of updates, and one of them is basically this: their pets' heads fell off. Jaren Jackson Jr. is out 6 to 9 weeks. Zach Edey is out 6 to 9 weeks. Brandon Clark is out, I think, 4 weeks with a PCL strain, with a PCL cleanup that he needed. He needed like just a cleanup procedure. They don't have a front court, and all of us were like really ready to get in on it. And Joe, I think, is still ready to get in on it, which is like really interesting. So I need to talk about this with them. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Jim's favorite team in this division, which I will wait for. I do want to talk about Skinny Zion and that with the world's greatest Pelicans hater, Jim Turvey. And we'll hit on the Spurs as well. It's an interesting division. It's just really interesting. So, Joe, I want to start here. You found some specials to bet on in the market, and you've been breaking them down, and I want to give the people kind of an opportunity to hear your thoughts on it and why it is that you think that there's value, even with these injuries that could set the Grizzlies drastically behind, on finding different ways to bet Memphis and John Morant.
So I think a lot of this really has to go with John Morant and the coaching change, because I think, last season we've seen actually John Morant's points per game has basically come down like every year. And last season we were kind of seeing this trend where the usage was down. The ball just wasn't in his hands as much. They were almost trying to use him to do a little bit more things off ball, which I think in the grand scheme of things probably would have been a good move for Memphis to maybe be like less Ja centric. But then we see what actually happens from like an ownership perspective, a management perspective, and Taylor Jenkins gets fired. And like immediately, like the number one thing that happens is Ja's usage goes through the fucking roof. And they're like, nope, you're our guy. We're going to center around you. We reaffirm that. And then we even move Desmond Bane. Like, we're like, nope, we're going to move him. It's fine. We're going to center every single thing around John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and try to move forward with that. Jaren, obviously not necessarily like the biggest usage guy, but we have seen him improve over the past couple of seasons in an expanded role. But for me, the biggest thing was about Ja Morant. And then I think that Zach Edey is actually like a decent pick and roll partner. He's a good screener, and I like some of the things there. But in the last, whatever it was, 7 games or so that Ja Morant played in the season after Taylor Jenkins had gotten fired, Morant was averaging over 28 points a game. And I think that that's something that we can try to bet on as a little bit more of a recentering around Morant. So you can get Ja Morant to average 25 points a game is about -110, -120, but 28 plus is plus 500 at DraftKings. And I really like this angle as a way to bet on Ja, especially with all these other injuries. I think that there is a pretty good opportunity for him to see an expanded role and have the ball in his hands a little bit more, which is something that we'll now see, moving forward this season. But he's also going to have had the entire offseason to kind of game plan, learn a new playbook. And I think that they're going to have that built specifically around what he is good at and how to make him excel for this season. So I want to back Ja Morant, and I think that's kind of a good way to look at what Memphis is going to do this season.
Okay, what did he average per game points-wise after Taylor got fired?
It was 28 and a quarter about.
Okay. I am trying not to like find reasons not to bet these things because the two of you are very smart, and so I'm trying to be a improv partner and be like, yes, and. But it's difficult for me because like last season, he is 59.6 at the rim. That's 31st percentile. He's great from mid-range, 45%, 70th percentile. And then he shoots 31% from 3.
Yeah.
And his best skill to me is as a playmaker. And if we really kind of look back, the best thing for him is he's a guard that, like most guards, I think, in the league, get him a good screen and he's going to wreck you. Because he just needs like a step. Like Ja just needs like a step of space because it's not just the athleticism, it's his ability to navigate it. It's his understanding of space. Like Ja's really great at crazy finishes and looping drives, and like the athleticism still pops. It's a little bit worse than it was because of the injuries, but in general, like his athleticism still definitely I think pops. But I do want those guys next to him. Now the counter might be like, well, look, they're kind of on track for. Basically, Edey or Jaren or both will be back by Thanksgiving. And that still leaves you 5 months of basketball for Morant to go absolutely, like nuts, even if you don't think that he's going to crush early on, because like I do kind of have some concerns here. Because I do kind of wonder just like if you're guarding this team right now, I just feel like they're going to be so easy to guard. It's going to be like, hey, help on every single jaw drive. You don't need to worry about any pick and pop action. You don't need to worry about the roller. Don't need to worry about that. It's just like, hey, maybe get a hand up on Santi Aldama, and best of luck to you. Like I don't know. I just don't know how much there's there. You factor in Cedric Coward coming in, Ty Jerome coming in. You factor in Jalen Wells coming back from injury and like probable steps from him, which isn't to say they're going to take away from Ja. Like, Ja's still going to have the ball in his hands. I wind up always on the kind of the mindset. Like if this was like an over on his points and assists, I'd probably like it because I think this is a pretty good buy low spot on Ja. Like everyone is still kind of down on him, and that 28 number I think is probably indicative of that. Because you're right that not only do they recenter around Ja, and they are definitely like they want to fix the relationship with Ja and get him back on board. But a lot of the coaching decision was built around getting rid of a system that was not pick and roll heavy.
Yeah.
And I think that benefits two guys. That benefits Ja Morant and Zach Edey. Like those are the two guys that benefit the most.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so that was kind of the way that I was looking at Morant individually. And I think the Edey point is great too, because Edey also saw like when he was kind of in and out dealing with some injuries. The end of the season, he was insane. Like whenever he gets legitimate run, he was just rebounding like an absolute monster. And there were a couple games where he played, over 30 minutes a game, and he was averaging in those games like almost 16 rebounds a game. So obviously with him, we're seeing this issue with the injury. I think there's obviously some concern there. But you guys know I'm addicted to betting these specials. And like DraftKings in particular has one that I really like. And it ties into this Morant stuff. So it's Morant to average 23 points a game, the Grizzlies to make the playoffs. And I'm not so much worried about the 23 points a game. That's just like, I'm not worried about that. I think that's pretty floor. And then Edie to average 12 plus rebounds a game. And it's 16-1. Part of why I like this too is that it says the way the terms are, it's basically they have to play 41 regular season games. So it's not like the awards threshold. It's not even, like a series or, a season leader threshold. It's half the season. And I'm reading it as I'm reading it now. If any leg of the selection is void, the entire selection is void, irrespective of the other leg's results. So what I think is interesting about this in particular is that if either of these guys don't play enough, I think that would directly impact our Grizzlies to make the playoffs portion of this bet. So I really like kind of putting them together. And because like Edie's injury is, I think, the one that's most up in the air, but we only need 41 games. Even if he misses, 6 to 8 weeks or so, probably around Thanksgiving, like you were saying, Matt, a lot of basketball left at that point. I think that we can still hit 41 games. So the 12 plus is a little bit on the higher end, but I do think that would be pretty close or pretty indicative of whether or not Memphis could make the playoffs or not.
And Matt, don't you think you can make the case against yourself really quick about liking the points and assists more than the points? If these guys are out at the beginning of the season, isn't that just going to mean that Ja has to press more and can kind of inflate his points total in those early games? Like, I think if they're missing the guys for the assists, I agree that he's great being unlocked with a screen. But to me, it's much easier to replace a screen than it is to replace, the scoring that he's going to pass off of.
I disagree. I actually disagree heavily on that. Jordan Poole's comment, I haven't had a good screen in 3 years, is there's actually it's a problem in the league. Like, good screening is a big problem in the league, and it's actually indicative of the best offenses have great screeners. A good example of this, if you were interested in doing such things, go watch the Cavaliers. Just take any random Cavaliers game and watch how Jared Allen and Evan Mobley screen. Those guys at great screens, not just in terms of contact made, the physicality, not committing a moving screen, which is the Golden State Warriors special, but legitimately the angles and how they are understanding of what their guards want is elite. And
let me put it this way, though.
Yeah,
I think that the points is going to, if you go from a backup center to from a starting center to a backup center, you're definitely losing scoring. If you go from a starting center to a backup center, you might actually get better screening. Now, maybe you're saying Edie is so good and the backup aren't going to be able to do that. That's fine. But I think you could, like, who is going to start at center for Memphis
maybe Santi, maybe is Jock Landale on the team right now?
Jock Landale is who I was thinking.
He's he's not bad.
I'm not saying Jock Landale screen. Maybe this is a little bit,
I think the more
dude looks like he said a good screen.
I think the more interesting part of this is of debating Jock Landale screens, which that's a bar even I don't want to cross.
Too much international ball.
This actually is an interesting question of the very logical, and I tend to swerve on these things because I just don't find things as A to B linear oftentimes as we make them out to be, especially in the league, because it's like, take this for example, okay? You're like, oh, well, without these other guys, Ja's just gonna have to go nuts and have all these shots and all this usage. Unfortunately, like, the other team knows that too, and so your scouting report shifts where it's like, hey, we're gonna double them tonight because they got nobody. Like, we're not worried about anybody else, right? We don't have any. We have no centers, so you could step out bigs as much as you need to crowd his space, because I'm not worried about Jock Landale getting the ball and then creating a shot for himself, right?
For sure, yeah.
But I can be wrong here, where it could be just as simple as you guys are kind of not suggesting it is, but just a very direct correlation of someone has to shoot, and it's gonna be Ja, So even if he's inefficient, it's not going to matter because they're going to play fast and Ja's going to shoot a ton. And that can get you home here.
Because
like that is alone enough to get you home here.
Yeah, and like that's kind of what I'm thinking. Because I mean, look, back in 2021, like when he won Most Improved Player, right? That he took 16, like over 16 twos a game, and he took almost like about 4.5 threes a game. Those numbers, the threes have gone up since then. The twos have come down like significantly every season since then. So my thought is basically it's kind of a little bit more just, even if the looks aren't necessarily as good, he's just going to get more shots. Like that's just going to be what it is, because he's not going to be as worried about sharing the basketball, trying to kind of appease other people. And I think overall, like looking at this, when the franchise is basically saying, look, man, this is your team. Like you got to be better. Like you got to be the guy.
I want to hit the other legs of the prop that you put up there, which was this is the special. It's under the team specials, and it's Ja 23 points. None of us are worried about that. Like,
yeah,
right. If he plays, and if he doesn't play, it's void. And that's a big. That's. Am I correct on that one?
Yes. Yeah. That's the way it's worded, and I read it before, but it's basically if the players don't play 41 games, then it doesn't have action. Yeah, across the board.
So that's great, because that's the only way that he doesn't get, like, I can quibble about 28 points, but he's going to be above 23.
Yeah.
Right. On Edey, when he played more than 25 minutes, he did that in 20 games last season. He was 10 and 10 in 12 or more, and having 12 or more rebounds.
Yeah.
But that's with only 25 minutes. They love him and want him to play way more, and were very frustrated that Taylor was doing this weird thing called holding a player accountable. They did not want that. And so when he had 30 more minutes, he did it 4 times. These are the rebound totals: 19, 16, 16, and 9.
Yeah.
So that's great. Now, on the last leg, the playoffs, the reason I like this so much, and like this is like an official buckets bet. Like we're stamping it. This is an official buckets bet. Jazz gonna be worse. Okay. The next teams are all variable, but let's look at them. Pelicans, who we'll talk about, Blazers, Suns, Kings, Spurs. Those teams are all on dunks and threes projections behind Memphis. They're also behind them on mine. This is before we even talk about James's Dallas Mavericks. Even all we need is 4. So all we need is 3 of those teams, and then one other team from the top has a year from hell that's not Memphis, and they go down. And now Memphis is in the play-in tournament, and at worst, you have a 16-1 ticket with a hedge.
Yeah. And honestly, it's one of those bets where if you took each of the individual legs, you would say this is like a horrible bet. Like you're not getting good odds. Like building it out with the odds that they have on DK, we're looking at, to make the playoffs is plus 160. The Edey 12 plus is plus 950. And then Ja is the 23 plus is minus 500. The reason I still like it a lot, though, because that would build out per, like on our Action Network calculator, to about like 30-1, but they're not intertwined. And I like the fact that they're intertwined, and you kind of get these like almost extra outs where if they don't play, then like you're basically saying that they are going to play at least half the season. And I think if you say that both Morant and Edey are going to play half the season and average like at that number, the odds for them to make the playoffs is just gonna come down. Like that's the way that I kind of look at this. And if one of them for some reason doesn't, then it's kind of like, all right, well now we're getting out of this play. So that's why I think here, number one, like you're not really going to be able to build this way anyway. They're not going to let you. It's basically you have to bet it through this type of special. But I think the special is actually like good for us anyway.
Yeah, those specials in general, I think that's really the way to approach it, because they're all going to be somewhat correlated. What you're trying to do is with your eyes, which is tricky, but I like the way Joe kind of like deconstructed it to see what like the quote unquote fair price was. But yeah, like with your eyes, you're trying to see which of these is underbaked in terms of correlation and which of them are, overbaked. You let them be. But if there's ones where you really think, like one of my favorites last year was a Darius Garland 20 plus points Cavs division. Felt like the way that the Cavs make the leap last year is if Darius Garland is healthy and playing well. And that hit, and that was like one of my favorite ones of the year, because I thought it really was something that was like pretty highly correlated. So I think that's what you want to see, is like those ones that if Ja and Edey are playing that much together and playing that many games together, I think it's great news for Memphis. And it means that their floor is going to be pretty high, and that even in a tough West, I think that those are pretty correlated. So I really like this one as well.
From a more general perspective, I have the Memphis Grizzlies rated right now, mostly because of their Ty Jerome edition, because Ty was like really great in the numbers that I tend to focus on. I have them at 51 wins.
Wow.
Yeah. Now with Jaren and Zach and Brandon and Zebo and Marc Gasol and Pau Gasol and Big Country Reeves all out for the beginning of the season, that's obviously going to drop. But their odds, best in the market, is 10-1 for them to win the division. I'm not ready to make that a play, but I do think that the Spurs being higher than Memphis is wrong.
Yeah, I really wanted to be. This is one we were going to give out together before all this news came around. I have to admit, I am a little bit spooked. I mean, I was pretty with you, but it's instantly giving flashbacks to seasons where it's injuries from hell. And we've had this discussion before, Matt, and you've kind of said it's not as simple as it looks. But there is a history here with Memphis and injuries stacking up. There's also a history of the front office like kind of being cheap and doing sell moves in mid-year, even when they're competing. So I think that there's a lot here that spooks me about Memphis. And the bigger thing is like the West, you don't have to rush into this. Like we can wait on this news when people come back. If we're like, hey, I actually like what I'm really seeing. Let's get the division now. It's not gonna be gone. There's enough good teams here. Houston's got high enough floor that I think we don't have to rush into it with Memphis. We can sit and see for a second where there's some pretty good bad outcomes. I think if anything, you want to bet the bad outcome now and then come back on it if somehow they avoid this season from hell, which it's, again, this isn't locked in that they're going to be out for a season or anything. It's just those beginning of the year where we're not even at, like, training camps are just starting and there's three big guys injured already is honestly terrifying.
Like, I can't say that this number, they shouldn't be behind the Spurs, but I can't say that this number is wrong either, because they're just starting off in a hole, and it's the Western Conference.
Yeah.
And they can have that year from hell. Like, maybe the training staff is just, I don't know, like Dr. Nix from The Simpsons. Like, it's entirely possible that's just like that they're just quacks and they're not able to do it. I don't know. I have no idea. So if that's the case, betting into this, you're instantly betting on hope, which I don't think I want to do anymore ever again. I don't want to bet into like, well, hopefully they're healthy and then this will have great value. Well, then it doesn't have great value because you're not basing it off of like facts. This is not a misappropriation by the market. They're factoring in what they don't think they're very good anyway. I think they're wrong on that. But the injuries, they might not be that good. So I have to wait on that one.
Yeah, I mean, they also have to be good. Like, they have to be better than all the other teams. It's not just like they have to be good. It's in order to win the division, you have to be better than every other team in the division. So if the Rockets are like unbelievable, then you're beat.
Yeah, any team could buy. And there's some good teams in this division.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about the Pelicans. But first, gotta talk. We said this morning, we decided we're like, hey, let's talk about the Southwest Division, dig in a little bit, and we'll talk about this. And then James Turvey decided that the team that intrigues him most is.
Well, yeah. So you sent the message, and I said you're forgetting a team here. You said I want to talk about Skinny Zion. I want to talk about Grizzlies injuries. I want to talk about Fred VanVleet. I want to talk about the Spurs. I said, Matt, you're forgetting a team here. The dearly beloved, as in we all hated them the entire postseason, Dallas Mavericks. I want in this year, I think. And I was vaguely intrigued last year, in part for similar reasons. I think the depth here is really, really good. Here is their solid dude list. They go Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, Klay Thompson, Caleb Martin, Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy, Brandon Williams. Kyrie's already pulling up for jump shots from deep, I'm seeing. I'm already buying up Ryan Nemhard hipster stock.
He's good.
They got my beloved Dennis Smith Jr. They have like more than a dozen really serviceable NBA players. The floor of that team to me is really interesting. And the ceiling, I think, comes with the one guy who I didn't mention. No, not D'Angelo Russell, who I purposefully left off of that list. Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is coming in. If he can bring any sort of a ceiling to what I think is already a floor of an incredibly deep team, the modern NBA, there's just so many injuries and so many games missed and so many we're tired because we overworked our 7 players. Jason Kidd could roll all these guys out, play Anthony Davis 30, although maybe keep him safe and pay him 25. They could basically play everyone 20 minutes, and I think they'd be a really solid team. Now, are they going to be able to hang with the Thunder playing those guys 20 minutes? No. But if you got that squad fresh on most nights, I think they're going to give teams a pretty tough time. And that's before we get to if Cooper Flagg can land on like his feet. Then they're pretty interesting. So you got division around 10-1. You got the over-under, like I said, 41.5. I really like the floor. Depth and floor really, to me, kind of go hand in hand. And then with Flagg, I think that's the ceiling. So it's 50-plus wins, 5-1. I mean, even title, I think you wait and see about Kyrie. But I honestly think I was intrigued on title last year before Kyrie went down after the Anthony Davis trade. I really think that this team is really interesting. I definitely don't rush out and get that one. That one's going to be there for a long time. But I think that if this team coalesces, the depth is there, and then they have the high-end stuff with AD, Kyrie, and potentially Cooper Flagg. I think that, the division around 10-1, I think that that's a better bet than Memphis with the injuries they have right now. Spurs are just, I like the Spurs, but the market really likes the Spurs. Like you said, I think that they're rushing into this a little quick. Pelicans' ceiling is vaguely intriguing, but I think the Dallas ceiling is more intriguing. And then with Houston, I think that we can talk about it more, but the Fred VanVleet thing seems like secretly pretty big. So I think in this division, I'm really interested in Dallas. I think that number is too long for a team that I really, really like the floor. And then I think there is some potential for ceiling with if a guy like Cooper Flagg is able to land and be, a number one level, like he's getting some of the hype. I don't follow college enough to really know, I don't think, Cooper's ceiling, but I think there's floor here and there's ceiling here. So Dallas is a team I'm pretty interested in this year. I know what I know the 2 words you're about to say, Matt. More.
No, it's just I don't know why I came into this year and I'm like, I'm not going to shoot down so many of the bets. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and be positive. And then why do you test me immediately, God? Why do you test me like this? So okay. Let's start here. What do you think their floor is offensively?
Like offensive rating.
Yes.
Their floor, I would say, is like 20th, maybe.
Yeah. So it could be really bad. They don't have. Cooper is probably their best connective playmaker.
So this is where I'll push back. I agree. They're obviously missing a point guard, but they have creation on the wings. They have a guy like Najee Marshall can do some creation. Max Christie can do some creating. Dante Exum can do some creating.
What about D'Lo, dude? What about D'Lo?
I'm leaving him off. I want him gone. I want him fired into the sun. I'm honestly pretty interested in Brandon Williams and Jaden Hardy. I think Jaden Hardy may be more as a scorer than like a playmaker, but Brandon Williams, I was vaguely interested in. So do you see their floor as like 25th?
Yes. So one, I do not think Kyrie Irving is coming back.
Oh.
Like, if you want to bet this, you need to be no.
Yeah.
Like Kyrie literally was like Kyrie's not being subtle.
Yeah, no, he said, but he's also there's videos, Matt. There's videos of him hitting threes. How could you possibly deny that he's coming back off that one grainy video on Twitter of him making a 3?
D'Lo and AD played really great together last season. Like they were legitimately great together. They were better together than they were with LeBron. Like that's a real thing that happened. And he is a professional NBA player. Like D'Lo is he is a borderline starting caliber point guard.
He does start.
He does start. I don't know who sets the floor. I don't know who organizes things, and I don't know who raises everybody up. Like, I don't know who's the tide that's going to make everybody better offensively. And defensively, the pieces are there. Like, the individual talent, I like a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, Max Christie's a dog. Like, he's got that dog.
I like him a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Dante Exum, very serviceable as like a spot minutes player, just to give you a few good minutes of perimeter defense. Najee's good. PJ Washington's good. Gafford got a little exposed last year. Like that magic that he had.
They gotta trade somebody. They have too many centers. It's insane. Like,
Lively can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna go to the AD injury thing. I'm not even gonna go to it. But I will tell you that having Anthony Davis is not it's not. If you have Rudy Gobert, I'm like, you're going to be a top 15 defense. Like, you are at worst going to be if you put Rudy Gobert on the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young and got rid of all of their defenders and just like put them back into the bad Hawks, they would still be a top 15 defense because Rudy Gobert is that. Anthony Davis is legitimately not that. He's not. He does not anchor them the same, which is why he wants to play with the center so badly. And he does because he's got Gafford and Lively, and that's very good for him. But I think the probably the biggest difference between us, and I can see everything that you're saying. I think you should probably, like, a more convincing argument to me is the ceiling, is being like, hey, if they're an elite defensive unit and I don't know how they're going to score, Jim. I just don't know how they're going to score. Like, and the other thing here is just, we have about 30 years now, 25-ish years of plus minus data that says that rookies are always a negative. They just are, especially if they have the ball in their hands, especially if they're not a point guard. Like, there's just very little chance that, like, you're going to look at Cooper and be like, oh yeah, they win their minutes with Cooper on the floor. Even if he's individually good, they're going to lose the minutes because, as a good example, the Sonics and Thunder the first 2 years lost their minutes with Kevin Durant on the court.
I will say, I think the only thing that I think is different is I think this Mavericks team is like better than the traditional team that gets the number one pick. So
True.
So I think that's like the closest thing, but I do tend to agree with you with like, if they're asking him to do something that's like not even really what he does, I think that makes this very difficult. Like, if they're basically telling him, hey, we need you to run an NBA offense for us. Like, that's not really, I don't really think that's what they thought they were going to need him to do right away, like as a rookie. I think they just said, we think he's the best player on the board. We're going to draft him and figure it out from there. And I think even going out and like essentially like, I guess getting or, you know, being able to use D'Angelo Russell kind of says that they don't necessarily think that he's ready for that either. It just is more of a like, well, we got to do it by necessity. If you can do it, that would be amazing because this team is going to be really good then, but odds are that you can't. So I think the problem is that in order to play D'Lo, you know the defense is going to be trash. So it's like, how do you balance the two things? But I do think, Jim, the defense on this team could be like really good. And I feel like NBA voters have been dying to give Anthony Davis an award. Like DPOY 35-1.
I don't mind it. I will say, Matt, I looked up real quick. The first player I thought of, I think, as a comp for Cooper Flag, and I know this is the comp. I actually think it's a decent comp, is Zion Williamson. Williamson, rookie year, 2019-20 Pelicans. He had the best net rating on the team at plus 5.1.
Okay. Who else was on that roster?
Not as good as this roster. Drew was on the team. Lonzo was on the team.
They had a point guard, so they already are up because they had a point guard.
Drew, you're counting Drew? So let's see what Drew's assist rate was that year.
Drew is better than like everybody on this roster except Anthony Davis.
Okay, but your point was creation, though.
But the biggest thing about Drew is like Drew will set the floor. Like he'll just like get everybody organized.
So I will say, I think the best counter to the Dallas thing, because I don't agree with a lot of what you said, but I do think the best counter is that there isn't someone like running the show and on the court. I do think that's fair. I think like ironically, the guy who I'm the lowest on here, D'Lo, is going to have to do that, like kind of like just like mentality wise, kind of set it. But that's where I think you can get back to Cooper Flag. But you're saying, he's like as a rookie, it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
Which
the other thing I have real concerns with is just like there's going to be a lot of times where this is one of the reasons I didn't like them drafting him, like them landing the lottery. I mean, they had to draft him, but it sucks for him is because there's just going to be times when it's a late game situation and the veterans are going to be like, go stand in the corner, don't do anything. Like just don't make a mistake. Because
that's
like
why I want D'Lo fired in this line. Because I think other than D'Lo, I don't think Anthony Davis is going to be like Davis has never like demanded the ball late. That's not really Davis's MO.
No, that's true. He might be a little bit different here though, because he's like trying to prove something.
He could be, but I mean, I honestly kind of think, and maybe it's Clay, and I don't love the Clay of it all. I'll be honest, Clay was not very good last year. I listed him like 6th for a reason. But if he can somehow like reassess his role and realize like last year I was pretty bad. Now that maybe that's asking for a lot for someone who deservedly has an ego after the career he's had. So again, there are question marks here.
I'm just gonna tell you, I'm looking at the 2020 Pelicans roster. I like this a lot better. You got
your most hated Brandon Ingram. You're gonna have to talk good about him here.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram, most improved player. Lonzo Ball, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart.
Oh, Josh, I didn't even get down. I couldn't scroll far enough down on the net rating down from Zion to get to Josh Hart.
Nico Melli, who was awesome and I miss in the NBA.
That's the name I haven't thought of in a minute. Jahlil Okafor, yeah, this team was incredible.
Derek Favors.
I did like
it is 30 whatever. No, I can't. Let me think about it over the next 3 weeks.
Here's the thing: you actually don't have to rush this one either, because there's the Kyrie of it all is like, certainly in terms of ceiling, they're clearly not winning a title without him. I think it's probably even tough to win the division without him. Just because the part of this ceiling is Kyrie. So again, you can wait on this as well.
If that's part of your if Zion is any part of your equation, you need to completely bail on this.
Kyrie.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said Zion. We're mixing up our
we'll get there in a second. If Kyrie is any part of your equation on this, you have to bail. You have to.
Yeah, I mean he certainly but yeah, that's fair.
Because like he's not. No. No. Joe Dellera, your reaction to Skinny Zion?
I mean, look, as a guy that appreciates a good meal, like, good for him. It's tough. I mean, it's interesting because like we've seen obviously the media tour surrounding Luka, and then now we're seeing some of these pictures coming out about Zion. If he's in great shape, that's awesome. I always want to bet on the Pelicans. I am sick about it. I feel like I'm always saying like, well, like the Pelicans are pretty good because I think Zion's really good. But it's just a matter of like, is he going to play? The thing is, it's always so weird because you see, and you talk about some of these teams and like I don't know, like just because he's skinny, like that doesn't mean he's going to be better. Like I don't totally understand it. Like the injuries that he's getting have been they almost seem like freak injuries. Like they're like bizarre injuries that you would say like, why did that happen? Like, or how did this happen? So unless like losing the weight is directly correlated to him not getting hurt as much, or maybe like not having like the same soft tissue injuries, then great. Like if not, then like whatever, like the whole, like all of NBA Twitter just fat shames Zion to lose weight over the summer. Like big deal. I like, unless it affects whether or not he's going to get hurt. I don't think it really matters because we've seen it too with some of these players. Like if you have a little bit more weight on you, you might be a little bit better in the post. It's not like it's slowed him down at all. He's been unbelievable. He can still jump through the ceiling. So I don't know how much I care that he's skinnier. I just want to know if maybe it's going to help him stay healthy over the course of the season. That's more what I would be concerned about.
I mean, I will say that there's always been concerns about the level of explosiveness that his body has,
Yeah.
coupled with the weight upon landing. Because it's bad for impact. It's just bad.
Yeah.
And being lighter may make him actually less explosive, but it could also mean that the landings are just easier. So he just doesn't get. Now, I also don't know what that means for like his ability to bully guys. That was such a strength of his. Consistency.
Yeah.
I am. He's so good and so impactful when he plays. Like he just does. Like all the numbers are just like he crushes. Like he just does. He crushes. I don't think that you need to. The Pelicans are one that I am very much just like, okay, I want to see them in preseason more than anything. That's my Pelicans take. Is, hey, let me see what the rookies look like. They'll probably be negatives, as I told Jim, but like, let me see if they can get, if Jeremiah Fears looks like, hey, he can handle point guard until DeJounte Murray, Jim's favorite, gets back. Let's let's see if what Trey Murphy looks like. Is he ready to take another jump?
Yeah.
And let's see what the vibe is with that team in preseason. If they look good in preseason, then I will get on board. They are 80-1 to win the division,
which is pretty absurd.
It's
I'd be interested in like a little NBA Cup for the Pelicans.
Ooh, I like this
because
angle.
you figure that they're all kind of healthy right now, presumably, and these games are all done so early. Like I think that's the important thing here. So with that, like you can get Zion for I gotta find, what was his odds? I gotta find him. But Zion
300-1,
300-1, and then group winner Pelicans are, because it's like they're plus 950, and they're in that weird group with the Lakers, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, and the Mavericks. So two teams that we know have injuries to start the season in the Grizzlies and the Mavericks. The Clippers have all the turmoil in the world surrounding them. Lakers are just like, you have Luka. We've talked about Luka for this bet too, but you can still get in as a wild card. So, even if you like, I think you'd have to say Zion is like most likely maybe to get to get that MVP, but at the same time, he's not necessarily. And I think that the delta between him and like Trey Murphy, for example, because Trey Murphy's been awesome too, I wouldn't want to just go right to Zion because the Pelicans are 250-1 to win the NBA Cup.
Pelicans, yeah.
So like, I think you just bet the Pelicans. I've got us here somehow.
Well, I like it. I was pretty skeptical. My notes were all like relatively skeptical, like in part because like I this is a team to me that also has like year after year has weird injury stuff. The front office seems like motivated to win. Like they don't have any reason to tank this season.
Yeah,
but I don't really know what they're doing. That they're trying to build like the DMV down in New Orleans. They've got Jordan Poole coming in, Sadiq Bey coming in. It doesn't seem like they're pulling the right strings, but they also seem like they are going for it. And I do think that like Zion, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones as a trio is supremely fun. Jose Alvarado even.
The other thing I want to kind of point out,
Trey Murphy is 900-1, by the way, to be MVP.
Say less, Joseph.
I don't even know they had odds that high.
I'm trying so hard. I'm like, well, we can just wait and like we can wait till preseason, etc. And I'm like, oh my god, 900. But it's also like these odds aren't going to move. So no. I want to let's get through training camp. Let's just get through training camp. It's 4 days.
See if the Pelicans can be healthy through training camp.
Yes, let's see if the Pelicans can be healthy through training camp, and then we can talk about these kind of options. Because I do think it's interesting. The other thing I want to say is the Pelicans suffer from NBA hipster-itis, and what I mean by that is the trade was abominable on draft night. Like, there's no way to defend it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, you could actually... No, like, it was dumb. Like, don't do that. Like, don't give up an unprotected. Don't give it unprotected for Derek Queen. Like, nothing about this made sense. None of it was good.
Yeah.
But that move doesn't mean that the locker room is going to be worse. It doesn't mean that the team is going to be worse this year. It doesn't mean that, like, you can say, like, well, this is indicative of the bad decision making. Okay, but Joe Dumars had about 10 years of being one of the best executives in the league. It was 20 years ago.
What were those 10 years?
It was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But
That seems relevant to
Seems
the
relevant.
conversation.
It seems relevant, but my only thing here is, I do think that it is worth not letting the trade of that draft pick impact how you assess the roster. Because we do that, where we're like, the Pelicans suck. Did you see that pick they traded? And it's like, that's got nothing to do.
I more meant their approach in the season, like if they are moving certain guys and like pushing the coach to play certain guys, etc.
Well, and the other thing I would tell you is, like, on media day, Dumars is like, I'm not going to set playoffs as an expectation. Everybody's like, you traded the pick, you know. But he's not going to, like, that is very indicative. Where it's like, look, if he's not putting the pressure on the guys to like go out and like, hey, we have to win every single night.
Well, Matt, you also, I think, in a conversation recently where we're saying that you're like vaguely Jordan Poole, like that he gets too much hate too. So you're semi high on Poole, right?
Yeah. So, okay. The way to think about it is Jordan Poole he was literally the second best pull-up jump shooter in the NBA last season on volume.
That's wild, honestly.
That is pretty
He
insane.
was incredible. Jordan Poole is not a winning player. I think that's pretty evident. Like, I just think you can make an argument pretty easily on that. And everybody's like, well, what does that mean? And it's like, okay, Jordan Poole doesn't make anybody better. And Jordan Poole doesn't handle his end of the floor on both offense and defense enough to come out as a positive. You got to do one or the other, right? Yeah. Kawhi Leonard doesn't make anybody better, but he gets buckets on everybody and shuts you down.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're building our team roster, as much as I love the guys that do all the making everybody better and impact and blah, 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 if you don't have any production, you're going to lose anyway. If you have a team of 15 Shane Battiers spread across the different positions, like 15 different shaped Shane Battiers, you are going to be a lottery team. And so Jordan Poole is a guy that on a given night, it's like, hey, we're on a back-to-back. We're playing the Spurs. We're in San Antonio. Jordan Poole went off for 42, and they snuck out a win.
Like, wait, this is super telling, Matt, because I kind of think the Dallas Mavericks are like a team of 15 Shane Battiers, and when you said they won't make the playoffs, I was like, oh, I think 15 Shane Battiers would make the playoffs. I think that's exactly how I view the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, and that's the problem now you can have 14 Shane Battiers and Anthony Davis.
And
that's
Kyrie,
that's what you're kind of hoping for.
Yeah,
it's like 14 Shane Battiers and Anthony Davis to be like an MVP level guy. And you're not getting Kyrie Irving. Stop saying it. You're not getting Kyrie Irving. Stop saying it. Stop it. Stop it. Spurs are just a no bet for me all across the board. Yeah. I'm not going to fade them. I have a Victor Wembanyama MVP ticket that I got in early because that to me is like the only way to do this. Bet the absolute ceiling, which is they wind up winning 50 games. They're way better than expected. And if they are, Victor Wembanyama is an MVP candidate because he was legitimately one of the 5 most impactful players last season in a bad year when they were under 500 before he had the blood clot.
Do you just Victor's plus 220 to be all first team NBA? Or do you just want the...
Yeah, that's a good bet. That one's good too. I like that one.
It's like I just think it's always I always feel like the MVP award, and I know you're so plugged in on MVP. I always feel like it's very hard to be like to crash the party, basically. Yes. Like we always talk about it, there's candidates, and they kind of are it's always like the same ones. Then maybe they'll start there'll be like a little bit of chatter for another guy. Like last year, there was a little bit of chatter for Ant. They were like, maybe Ant can do it. And the narrative started going. It was like, he's not there yet. But then it always seems to be the past couple of years, it's Jokic. It was Jokic and Embiid. And then it was like, well, maybe it's Luka's year, or Giannis. Maybe Giannis can get another one. And then Shea crept onto the scene, was really good 2 years ago, but obviously wasn't on that other level at that point in time. Then we see him get it last year. It almost feels like there needs to be the extra year. You have to be there for a year where they go, okay, you're minted, or so to speak. You can be a candidate, but the narrative takes at least a season to catch up there. So that's but Wemby is a little bit of a different case because he's already got the media coverage.
Yes. They are.
So-
I mean, my argument would be, yeah, guys his age don't wind up being as favored for defensive player of the year in their second season and basically being guaranteed to win it, no matter how bad the defense was either. Like he just
Well, in the
breaks every
media,
single mold.
I and myself included, I think love Wemby. I think at least to start his career, that's gonna be like a tiebreaker in awards. Is that he is he seems like a cool, smart, fun, like potential GOAT. That is catnip for media and wanting to give him awards, and I understand it entirely.
Yeah. Okay, good discussion. Appreciate you guys joining me. So we got one official bet. That's the DK special from Joe Dellera. John Morant, 23 plus points. Zach Edey, 12 plus rebounds. And the Memphis Grizzlies to make the playoffs at 1,600. Go check that out at DraftKings. The crown is yours. We're back on Wednesday with another episode, breaking down some NBA futures as we get closer to the season. We'll react to some media day, first couple of days of camp, any sort of news that comes out as well. We are back in the swing of it here. Thanks for joining us. Give us a 5-star review. Feedback's a gift. We'll see you guys again next time. Until then, let's get buckets.